It is the FTN Fast Break Podcast, Episode 8, Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. What is going on, everybody? Welcome in Zach Graham, a.k.a. Kawaisenberg, DFS, joined, as always, by Mike Randall, at Randall Rant, here to talk about the week that was in the basketball world. But first, Mike, coming off the long weekend, and, of course, we're into September. So NFL Week 1, about 2 days away. Of course, we're here to talk hoops, but how you doing, man?
Man, totally buried and loving every minute of it. We have you covered, FTN Fantasy. Zach, of course, holding the fort down with NBA. We have all the stuff ready for NFL, ready to go. Props, picks, models. I was on the Seahawk podcast this morning. But, of course, Zach, just a moment to smell the roses for my BC Eagles, who win at Florida State, for all you Seminole fans out there. That doesn't happen often, folks. Have to have a martini for that one. But we are talking NBA today.
Yeah, cheers to that. Of course, football rolls on. We're just about 3 weeks away from NBA training camps opening, and of course, the craziness around Media Day and all of the fun things that come out of that. But we've got, like I said, a couple weeks until then, so we actually have a number of news items to go through today. But then in the coming weeks, going to have some season-long content, maybe a little mock draft action, maybe a little best ball action here on the podcast. So again, coming to you a day after our normal Monday release here. Hope everybody had a good Labor Day. Mike, starting at the top here, the name in all the lights, Steph Curry signs a 1-year, $62.5 million extension with the Golden State Warriors. So that ties him with, of course, the only club he's ever known through the end of the 2026-27 season. He will be 39 years old by the end of this deal. Mike, Steph becomes just the fourth player in NBA history to surpass $500 million in career earnings, joining LeBron, KD, and Paul George, of all names there. So Steph the fourth on that list. And again, just to maybe kick off our discussion here, Michael Jordan made $94 million total from his NBA contracts during his career. Steph, $62.5 million for that final year. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I am fine with legendary players getting paid at the end of their deals for work already done. And that's what Steph Curry has done. He's the greatest shooter I've ever seen. I saw Larry Bird. Curry's better. There's no discussion. The off-balance shots, you saw it again in the Olympics when I was at the Fantasy Football Expo, put a dagger right in the hearts of everyone who was rooting against America, France. But he deserves it. I have no problem with it at all. God bless him, going right into the Hall of Fame. Ironically enough, Zach, in our fantasy football competition here at FTN, we have a last place sort of a penalty, and they are custom to each person. My last place penalty, if I finish last in the FTN league, is I have to put on Twitter that LeBron is greater than Jordan.
Oh, no.
So, if you see that and seeing me shout out the great MJ and putting him down, $94 million for him, unbelievable. But then again, Zach, it doesn't matter because he had a smart mother who said, I want a percentage of every shoe sold. God bless Mrs. MJ. But cheers to Curry. Well-deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I guess, first of all, from a Warriors perspective, right, like wins and losses, this ties, I believe, Steph to the final year of Draymond Green's contract as well. So potentially those two guys just going to go out together. I don't think, again, this to me just reads very much like a Kobe type of send-off where like you said, work that has already been done and probably still a little bit underpaid, to be honest, in terms of what he's worth to that Warriors franchise. But I think it's not just the farewell tour that is coming up, right? Almost a multi-year farewell tour that we're gearing up for here. But I think it's also a great move by the Warriors for their future, because similar to the Lakers and paying Kobe all that money they did the last couple years of his career, it's a message to current and future stars in the league that when you come to Golden State and you establish yourself as, the leader of a championship team with a lengthy window, we're going to take care of you here. We're not just going to move you on. You saw all of the photoshops floating around Twitter with Steph in a Lakers uniform and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
No. That's not how Golden State does it. I think for me, quote unquote, this is the right move for all parties involved.
Yeah, it is. He is a legendary, transcendent type of player. That's what he is. Love the work that is gone, that people put in behind the scenes. We don't know with the executives how hard it is to manipulate these contracts and make sure that they reload. The Warriors are headed towards the end of an era, the end of a dynasty, and whatever they're doing is smart, how they're reworking things to make sure they have the cap space in order to move forward. So I totally agree. Cheers to Steph Curry. Deserves it. I remember being at my rehearsal dinner or the rehearsal tasting for my wedding when Curry was lighting up Georgetown. And my wife thought I was having indigestion from the food. I kept going to the bar in the place to watch Stephen Curry bomb Georgetown. So she laughs because she didn't figure that one out for about an hour. But yeah, shout out to Curry. Been there since David said, and boy, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, and it's going to be like, I think a lot of people's reaction too was just like, it's an eye-popping number, 62 million for 1 year. And like, we got to get used to that, I think, because like Jason Tatum is going to be making that type of money in a couple years. And I think more than that per year by the time we get to 27, 28. Like, I think I read somewhere that like Victor Wembanyama, if the an obligatory Wemby mention here on the podcast today, right? Got to get one in. That by the time he gets to like his second extension, he could be making north of 100 million a year if the cap
no doubt
keeps going as it's projected. So
Victor Wembanyama will be the first $100 million play. 100%. Yes.
Yeah, would think so. I know this brought a smile to your face last week when this news came across. TJ McConnell, 4 years, $45 million extension signed with the Pacers, taking him through the end of the 28-29 season there in Indy. Your thoughts on that? Like I said, I know you love you some TJ McConnell.
Zach, Timothy John McConnell. These are the players that win championships. You can't just assemble stars. Even the Miami Heat team that had Wade and LeBron and Bosh, they need some role players, and these role players deserve to get paid. Now, maybe it's just because I was a role player in high school, but the point is well taken. You need to win this way. You can't just assemble stars. Shout out to the Pistons, and most of the people watching this can't name more than maybe one Piston that swept the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq and Karl Malone and Gary Payton. Enough. I love this. I'm thrilled for him. He was critical. The steals, the assists, the way he was able to attack the basket with the short pull-up mid-range for Indiana. Indiana is going to be good. I'm thrilled for him. Just an outstanding job, and I'm happy to see role players getting paid. Pour one out for the Bruce Bowens and the TJ McConnells of this world.
Now you got me looking because I was thinking, who is the backup point guard on that Pistons team? And in my head, I'm saying Lindsey Hunter. I just pulled up the roster. I'm taking a look at it. Chucky Atkins, was it Lindsey Hunter on the roster?
Excellent.
I guess you could maybe call him more of a combo guard, but
and that team, tell me if I'm wrong. You had Rip Hamilton, who no one liked because God forbid pull-up jumpers are not flashy. Although he had a big one, by the way, in the NCAA tournament to win a game at the end as well. Ben Wallace, legendary. If you know, you know.
Yep.
Tayshaun Prince, I think maybe on that team. Just, again, role players. That's how you win. Thrilled. Very happy for TJ McConnell.
And my guy, can't forget my guy Rasheed Wallace there on the Pistons team too. So
totally. Yes.
So TJ going to be 37 at the end of this deal. He's already played 9 seasons, but for a backup point guard, 9 seasons, just 2 teams, 4 with Philly, 5 with the Pacers now. And he joined Michael Cooper as the only players to average 10 points and 5 assists off the bench in a single postseason, minimum 10 games for that sample size. But again, like, that shows you, like, to your point, how important a player like TJ McConnell is to a team that has championship aspirations over the next couple of years.
Kareem, Magic, Byron Scott, AC always celibate Green, and Michael Cooper. Michael Cooper was so important to that team. The length. He was Scottie Pippen before Scottie Pippen. That's what Michael Cooper was for that Laker team in the 80s.
Yeah, no question. So it'll be obviously TJ, whenever he gets the chance for extended minutes, is somebody that we love to go to in DFS. But from a real basketball perspective, Timothy John McConnell, just a killer out there. And some nice insurance behind Halliburton and Andrew Nembhard. Moving on here through the news, Ivica Zubac re-ups with the Clippers, a 3-year, $58.6 million extension that ties him to LA through the end of the 27-28 season. Mike, this was the maximum extension that the Clippers could give Zubac based off the current CBA. What are your thoughts there? Because again, this is a team in transition, but clearly locking in Zubac for the foreseeable future.
They had to do it. Lost Paul George. Had to do it. They had to have him on the team. Great role player, center. Has always gotten off to good starts for that team, too. Whenever you play the Clippers, very strong at the beginning of games. Great rebounder, fundamentally sound. Have to do it. And I again, going back to what I said about McConnell, I'm thrilled to have players who have roles getting paid here. They cannot lose him. They lose Paul George. They still have scoring. We know that. But they need somebody in the middle. They need a player who's happy getting 10 and 10 every single night. The anti DeAndre Ayton, if you will. He's not going to be going for his points. He doesn't care. This is a critical thing. He's an integral part of their team success.
Yeah, and you think about the Clippers the last couple years, right? Of course, Paul George now in Philadelphia. So the PG Kawhi Clippers are a thing of the past. But through that, I guess you could call it a run, right? Their longest run was just to the Western Conference Finals. But you think about that team, and for me at least, I think about defense because Kawhi and Paul George on the wing was a nightmare when they got there. You add somebody like Terrence Mann. Nick Batum came there for, I think, 2 cups of coffee, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
But you look at Zubac and his impact on the defensive end of the floor. Last year, held opponents to 49.6% at the rim. That's best in the league among players who defended 200-plus shots per second spectrum. So, again, you think about a league with Rudy Gobert and Victor Wembanyama. There's 2. We got to cut me off right there. But Ivica Zubac was a fantastic rim defender, the best in the league last year. So, again, this is a signing, I think, that, again, over the next 2, 3, 4 years, you just keep the baseline for your team's defense at a certain level where it's going to be, this team will have to try, I think, to tank while they still have Harden, Kawhi, and now Zubac. So I think it's a good move for Steve Ballmer, right? Moving into this new arena. He does not want to go 20 and 62 in any of these seasons. You got to fill that arena up. So again, to your point, I think it's something you had to do just with the position that the Clippers are in.
Yeah, the serviceable big man who provides solid defense, rim protection, it can get you a double-double every night, is so underrated in the NBA. Put out the Spider-Man gif of Steven Adams pointing at Ivica Zubac, and that's what you have. They're underrated big men who do their job. Yes.
Oh, hope we get to see Steven Adams. That's my guy, Funaki, as I call him. One of his many middle names. So
10 rebounds in the first quarter. I mean, he's the rebound ladder master. If he plays, he's going to get boards. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, man, we didn't get to see it a ton, and I'm getting off track here, but thinking about Steven Adams, in his time with Ja Morant, some of those full-court baseball passes off those rebounds in the paint to Ja, terrorizing Western Conference opponents. Hopefully we get to see Ja healthy, Steven Adams healthy. It's getting me excited for the season, Mike.
Zach, you don't have to. I could go off on Ja Morant for hours here. I get it. The off-the-court issues have derailed him, some of the injuries, but on the court, he hasn't gotten a lot of respect from some of our competitors either. I mean, get out of here. Ja Morant is an elite player. Having him when he had Steven Adams, those guys on the floor was very frustrating because we couldn't see them together, but you saw a flash. Yes, 100%. Now Steven Adams on a new team, of course, looking forward to seeing him hopefully come back better than ever.
Well, since we mentioned the Grizzlies there, I'm going to jump around a little bit on our little rundown here and talk about the first piece of bad news that has got to just be giving some of these Grizzlies fans some PTSD from last season, because nearly everybody, you talk about the off-the-court stuff for Ja, he also suffered an injury. Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark was recovering from Achilles. Marcus Smart got hurt. I could keep going. Now, G.G. Jackson, diagnosed with a broken foot, will undergo surgery. So apparently 5th metatarsal in that right foot after landing awkwardly after a contested layup attempt during a workout a week ago from today. So the operation is tomorrow on Wednesday, September 4th. We won't have a timeline until after that procedure. And I know G.G. Jackson is not right. He's not going to be a starter for this team. And he may end up being far enough down this rotation where this doesn't have a ton of consequence. But again, just I can feel the vibes out of Memphis. Here we go again with these injuries.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I really am rooting for the Grizzlies. When we do our previews, I'm going to be very high on them. I'm going to go with the over. I'm going to assume good health, call it the Christian McCaffrey corollary here in the NFL. I'm not going to worry about injuries, and I'm going to assess them because I don't want to miss the wedding when I try to inappropriately project as a non-doctor the injuries. But this hurts a little bit. Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson, John Morant, they need bench players because per their history, they're going to miss games. And Gigi Jackson was a nice scoring option who came into his own at the end of last year, showing the ability to score the NBA level. This year, we were hoping he would take that throughout the season and be able to do that against elite competition, not just at the second half of a disappointing season for the Grizzlies. So this one hurts a little bit. They need him healthy. They had missed Brandon Clark for a long time last year. Now they have Zach Edey. Just bothers me a little because those bench players, going back to what we talked about, McConnell, they matter, and they matter for championship teams, especially when the Grizzlies are at the top when they're healthy, but they have to get over the hump, and they need help to do that. And a Gigi Jackson hurts them a little bit.
Jumping back into some of the signings, the transactions this week, my guy, Lonnie Walker IV, right? Former Spur. To me, even off the court, kind of an inspiring type of figure, talking about some of the trauma he went through early in his life and opening up about that. Again, I'm going to admire almost any professional athlete with that type of platform and stage to talk about some of the struggles that they may be going through in their lives. And again, trying to help out those people that, maybe don't have a platform or people to talk to or relate to. So I love to see Lonnie Walker being able to hang around the league. I know it's been tough for him ever since the Spurs kind of somewhat gave up on him, right? Didn't want him around anymore. He goes to the Lakers. He goes to the Nets. Now going to sign a one-year deal with the defending champions. So that's a pretty good opportunity for a guy on the fringes of the association. But you look more into this, Mike, reportedly going to be an Exhibit 10 contract, which will put Lonnie into training camp here with the Celtics and allows Boston to pay him a bonus if he's waived after camp and then plays for the Maine Red Claws, which is Boston's G League affiliate. New York Times reporting that Boston prefers at this time to keep their 15th roster spot open headed into the season. So this appears to be just a training camp deal, potentially turns into a two-way or something of that nature. So Lonnie Walker going to get a shot in camp here. And I hope he sticks around with Boston or catches on with some other team. Because again, the like personal off the court stuff that I like about Lonnie aside, man, is he athletic. And he has worked tirelessly to improve that 3-point shot, which is still a little bit inconsistent, but is much improved from when he came into the league a number of years ago.
Yeah, last two seasons, 36.5%, 38.4% from 3-point range. Is a scorer, is one of those guys who can play in the league and can score and get buckets in a hurry if needed. 3 straight years of double-digit scoring. You mentioned the improved 3-point shooting, solid from the free throw line as well. He can get a little erratic with his field goal percentage, but I root for Lonnie Walker because he can fill it up. He's a bucket getter, and going to the Celtics is perfect. He is hopefully, given all reports of him and the type of person he is, his work ethic, could fit into a championship team if given structure. Kind of like what I'm hoping with Westbrook with Denver, to be honest with you. Yeah. You know, Westbrook, obviously a different level player, but same type of thing, an electric player. This guy, a scorer who can fill it up. Would love to see him catch on with the Celtics here.
Amen. Lonnie Sky Walker, as they refer to him. I remember his rookie year going up. I think he was going to trying to dunk on Jeff Green, and you could see in the background on the Nuggets bench then Paul Millsap and his jaw dropping with how high up in the air Lonnie Walker was. So, again, hoping, maybe just more of my own personal feelings, hoping that he catches on in Boston or somewhere else. Moving on here, Evan Fournier, actually outbound here, signs a 2-year, $4 million deal with Olympiacos in Greece, ending his 12-year stint in the NBA. Of course, Evan Fournier spending time here in the States with Denver, Orlando, Boston, the Knicks, and Detroit after the trade last year. For his career, Mike, 14 points, just under 3 rebounds, and 2.5 assists per game. But Evan Fournier, we were talking earlier about career earnings between Steph and LeBron and MJ. Evan Fournier, $146 million in the NBA. Congrats to him on his NBA career. And man, like, Olympiacos is no joke, right? You're going to be in the EuroLeague. You're going to be playing in the top flight Greek league there domestically. The fans there are very demanding and intense, and the environment in these games, like, this is not going to be a cakewalk for Evan Fournier going back overseas.
No, it's not. But if you have a skill, a discernible skill, you can hang around. And that's what Evan Fournier has done here. Fantastic career in the NBA, 2 with Denver, ended up having 7, I think, with Orlando, split with Boston, couple in New York, and then Detroit. But he's always been able to light it up from beyond the arc. Highest he ever had, best season was 2020, 2021. He ended the year with Boston. He was well over 40% that year between Orlando and Boston, and he shot in 16 games, 46% from three-point range with the Celtics. So he's had a great run. He was over 40 a couple times in his career. Not an easy place to play. Not like it's going to be a downgrade. They're going to be intense, which I think he likes. He's a competitor. You saw that at the Olympics. I think he appreciates it. Pour one out for Evan Fournier. Great career.
So last piece of news here today. I just found, that I am a fan of the EuroLeague. I'm a fan of Summer League. So I get these names in my head and I get excited about guys that maybe don't ever see any time, meaningful time on an NBA floor. But the Brooklyn Nets, right? We talked about them really going to ramp up that tank this year and the moves they've made to set themselves up to try to get this rebuild kickstarted. They are closing in on a deal with Chinese sharpshooting guard. And apologies if I butcher this name again. Haven't heard of him. Zhongji Kui, and they call him Jackie Kui is his nickname there. 21 years old, one of the top prospects coming out of China. Reportedly, this is going to be a two-way deal for Kui. 6'8" shooting guard, last 2 seasons with Guangzhou in the CBA, averaging 16 points, 6 boards on 46% from the floor, 37% from deep. And the Nets reportedly, according to the New York Post, had worked out Jackie Kui before the draft, but they had no picks in June. And then after he was undrafted, and this is what surprised me, Mike, that Kui played 3 games this year in the Summer League with Portland. And I didn't make his mark on me. Apparently, he had agreed to an Exhibit 10 deal with the Blazers after Summer League, but never signed it. So now, apparently going to land on the East Coast there with Brooklyn on a 2-way deal. I'm excited to learn more about this player because it is just, if I feel like it's rare when a guy signs with an NBA team and I know nothing about him.
Low risk, high reward. Obviously didn't sign in Portland. There were some impressive players in Portland. Justin Minaya back, of course. I know him very well from over here in New Jersey. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see it. Jackie, let it fly. No fear. Make an impact. But if Zach Graham is a little befuddled, then I am certainly very befuddled here. But looking forward, I'll have to hit the Barclays Center and check him out this year, see how he does. But low risk, high reward, of course.
Yeah, we'll keep our eyes there on Jackie, and we'll close out episode 8. As we always close out the episodes, a little stock up, stock down for the week. And Mike, I'm going to switch it up this week too. We're going to start with our stock downs so we can end on some positive notes. So who's your stock down here on episode 8?
All right, listen, Cheryl Swoops, I watched you play. You were incredible, a legendary player. But listen, news flash to all the people who support or play or coach in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark is a rising tide lifts all boats, and that's what she's doing. I don't want to hear about this or stats. I don't care. The kid can play. She's lights out. She's much watched TV. Cheryl, Nancy Lieberman went at you. I guess you guys were friends. She called you and told you, you're not even getting the stats right. You have to get stats right. Now, Cheryl wants nothing to do with Nancy Lieberman. Folks, enough. There are great players all over the place in WNBA. There has never been as much buzz as there is right now, and I love every minute of it, and it's growing. Let's embrace it. Caitlin Clark, WNBA, Cheryl, knock it off. You're a legend. She's great, a great player. Support each other, folks. I get it. Magic hated Bird and Isaiah. I know all this stuff, but please, this is a critical time for the WNBA. It's great basketball, great players. Cheryl's a legend. Clark is going to be a legend. Let's embrace it, please.
Yeah. Well, my stock down is also Caitlin Clark adjacent here. My stock down this week, Mike, is the Chicago Sky. And so these, I think anybody who's been paying attention to the W this year probably has heard these stats this week. 17% of the flagrant fouls in the WNBA this season have been committed against Caitlin Clark, with 80% of those committed by the Chicago Sky. I will say, shout out to Rebecca Lobo, right? Another women's legend there in the game. Raw numbers, giving a little bit more context here, courtesy of Lobo. Caitlin Clark flagrantly fouled 5 times in her 32 games last season. Satu Sabali flagrantly fouled 4 times in 38 games. Ariel Powers the year before that, 5 times in 35 games. So the raw numbers aren't a crazy outlier, but the fact that the Chicago Sky clearly have beef here, and I just think this is something that the league needs to keep an eye on going forward, and likely escalate some of the potential penalties if it happens again, because again, while the 5 flagrant fouls on Clark this season aren't really an outlier compared to past seasons, the fact that 4 of those 5 have been committed by Chicago, clearly something is going on there. And it reads like sour grapes to me, Mike, because the Fever 3-1 in the season series this year. There is a slight potential that these two teams could meet up in the postseason. They're done in regular season play.
I hope so.
And the league hopes so too, I think.
Yeah. And I was alive. I was a young kid with the Jordan rules. It was laughable. So you would watch a game on the weekend and he'd go down the lane and they'd put him on the floor. And because he always got up, we laughed about it. I mean, elbow to the head, more blatant stuff than they're giving to Caitlin Clark. It is blatant. That's fine. I'm fine with a hard foul. I'm not fine with a cheap shot. There's a difference. Sure. The W will clean it up. It will get better. This is not something that's new. It's happened to players before the Jordan rules was real. He adjusted. She will adjust. And the league will adjust and crack down on it. But Chicago, cut the garbage. You're emulating Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn, bump and thump. I know the whole routine. Okay, let's just move on, please. All right.
Yeah. Caitlin Clark, I saw 2 weeks ago. You got Skylar Diggins-Smith walking into the Fever huddle just to bump shoulders with Caitlin Clark, and she acts like it did. Nothing happened. Nothing phasing this girl right now. Absolutely awesome to watch. And again, I'm with you. Hope to see those teams match up in a playoff series. We'll finish up with our stock ups, and I'll keep it rolling here. My stock up this week, as if he needs, any more bump to his stock. LeBron James. I was seeing clips from a live episode of The Shop, right? That LeBron's kind of talk show there on HBO. Recorded a live episode in Paris. Looked like it was during the Olympics. And LeBron talked about wanting to not just be remembered for being a basketball great, and I think, I think some people's reaction to that is like, well, tough luck, LeBron. You're not going to be remembered for anything like primarily but your basketball greatness. But when you listen to what he's saying and the context of it, I think, again, it's another window into the admirable qualities of LeBron in my eyes, because you rarely see somebody, and of course I'm far from the first person to talk about this, but somebody with the hype, the expectations that he had placed on him when he was 15, 16 years old, to not only live up to that hype, but probably exceed it in many ways. But then to have him saying here, he said he also wants to continue to be a great father, a great friend, a person who lifts up those around him in his community, right? We can talk about the work he does for education back in the Akron area, right? A role model, a good husband. And he said at the end, he says, I'm not done. I'm old as fuck, excuse my language, is what he said. I'm old as fuck in basketball, but super young in life. And to me, this is just something that made me think, not necessarily about those things that he will continue to do away from the court, and be a good example, but to think about, we only have so much to hear him say he's old AF in basketball terms. Like, you don't see him acknowledge that a ton. And it made me think, man, just as much as I hate the Lakers and I've never really been able to cheer for LeBron because I'm a Spurs fan through and through, appreciate these last couple seasons that we have with LeBron, because we're witnessing, again, one of, if not the greatest player of all time. And he's a pretty good dude too.
Yeah, he's a great dude. And I go way back with LeBron. I was actually coaching as the assistant varsity coach, Lenny Cook, when Lenny was here in New Jersey.
Mhm.
And Lenny was in the school, and I was working with him, trying to get his grades up. And he actually was a pretty decent student, to be honest. And he said, "Coach, are you coming to the ABCD camp?" I
Mhm.
said, "Why would I?" And that's right down the street from me, 20 minutes away. I said, "Well, why do you want me to go?" He said, "Well, I'm playing this kid who's a junior who they think is the number one player in the country, and I think I am. And
Yeah.
we're going to battle." I said, "Who is it?" He said, "LeBron James." I said, "Never heard of him." All right. And I went down to that game at ABCD camp, and everyone was there. Patino, Krzyzewski, everybody's there. So I
Right.
got in and I watched, and I got in because I coached Lenny, which we can save for a whole pod in and of itself. But Lenny was an elite player in terms of his moves, his dribbling ability, his length. LeBron guarded him the whole game.
Mm.
First play that started, Lenny crossed him up, made him fall, hit a
Oh,
jumper. Crowd went crazy.
yeah.
From that point on, LeBron James dominated. I think he
Yeah.
had 36 points. Lenny had 9. Hit the game-winning shot, LeBron. And I
Yeah.
remember saying, that kid's pretty good.
Yeah.
And from that point on, the rest is history. He's a legend. He's one of the greatest players of all time. He's on the Mount Rushmore. He has made teams better and carried teams to the finals that no one, including Jordan, have been able to do. Great scorer, great player, great person. You never hear issues with him. He obviously has his family, which he puts first, overcame the whole thing with his son with the heart issue,
Yeah.
and really wants to give back. It's a priority for him. God bless him. He's someone that I love to razz because I guess I'm some sort of a LeBron basher because I have him as
Right.
number 2 in the history of the NBA. But he's a legend. He's great. A lot of people have him won, and I can't come up with an argument against it. It's great to see. We're going to miss him when he's not playing anymore. But I'm glad to hear him say that he's going to be around, just maybe not in the NBA. Although the way he's playing now, he could probably play another 5 years.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'll toss it to you. Close us out. What's your stack up here for this week?
Yeah, shout out CBS for the 21 most iconic shots of the 21st century. Just taking me back through memory lane. Speaking of LeBron, I remember the 3-pointer against the Magic in 2009 that banked in the finals there against the Magic. He went 38 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
There were so many great things here. Don't want to annoy my wonderful friend and partner here, Zach Graham. In there would be Derek Fisher's shot in 2004 for the Lakers with 0.4 seconds, the turnaround 3 that went in, which was insane. So many great things. Kobe, multiple things for Kobe. Lillard, Dame time. Robert Horry against the Kings. Big shot, Bob, 2002. You can say what you want about the game being fixed in Game 7.
Yeah.
That Kings team was incredible. Peja Stojakovic, they should have won that series, but Kobe just wouldn't stop it. Shaq was great. Also, so many great things. The Iverson cross, the step over in 2001 over Ty Lue, which was fantastic. Sorry, Zach, the Ray Allen shot, which kept
Yeah.
Tim Duncan from going 6 for 6, which no one even wants to talk about. And of course, LeBron is great. And the greatest play I ever saw him make was a block because it was big against the Cavs. And then Kyrie hits the shot in Game 7, 2016 for the title. So nice job by CBS, Memory Lane, getting us ready. Right now, we're building towards NFL and obviously sort of a slow time for the NBA, but some great shots to relive. I have a picture on my wall of 2 shots my wife has got me in my life. One was Jordan against the Jazz with the kid in the background holding up 6 as it's going in. Okay.
Yeah.
And the second one, I'm sorry, is Ray Allen because that shot, the reason that's great is because it had to be his work ethic, his repetition. He never looked at the line. He stepped back. It had to be robotic and almost just an instinctual reaction. That's what makes it great.
Yeah. And man, like 21 shots of the century, 2 of them are against my favorite team. It's tough. It's tough.
Do I get Zach Graham to actually criticize the great Greg Popovich for not having Tim Duncan on the floor in that game? Or are you with him? Maybe you're with him on that.
No. I again, it's very easy for me to sit here criticizing, Coach Pop for one decision, and again, they did pretty well to come back the next season and right those wrongs.
Of course.
I still maintain, and it pains me to feel like this, but I think I would be lying if I said something different. That 2013 finals between the Spurs and the Heat with the Ray Allen shot, to me, that is the best series, 7-game series that I have ever seen. A couple years later, I think there's a lot of people would have some things to say about Warriors Cavs, and I think that's totally fair. But at least to that point, even though my team did not come out on top, What a series that was.
It was great. It was great. I was at the prom. I was chaperoning a prom as a high school principal during one of those games, and I'm like, Kawhi was at his best.
Mm-hmm.
It would have changed the narrative. It didn't change the narrative of the Spurs. I mean, Spurs are great. They're legends. They're Pop, Duncan. Okay.
Right.
But it would have changed because it would have been a loss for Miami. That would have been brutal.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. But, yeah, sorry. Don't mean to go there. You have many championships to celebrate. You have Wemby for years to come.
Yeah.
God bless
Hopefully
you.
another one soon.
Yeah. You have a dog. I mean, you have everything. So let's see. So I thought I could throw that in there.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you tuning in and sticking with us here on episode 8 of the FTN Fast Break podcast. We will be back regularly scheduled Monday programming next week. Again, talking some more fantasy hoops. You can also join me every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern on the FTN Fantasy YouTube channel, every Friday between now and the start of the regular season for some live streamed underdog NBA best ball drafts. We did a little double header last Friday, Mike. We had a lot of people in chat tuned in, drafting along with us, getting ready for the season. Exciting time of year. Anything else for you before we shut it down?
No, can't wait. Looking forward to our previews. They're going to be fantastic. We'll do a best ball draft. I just finished up Best Ball Mania. So time for me. I'm a little bit behind you, my friend, but I'm watching all your streams to try to steal all your players going into the NBA season. So looking forward to doing those with you as well.
All right, everybody. We'll see you back here next Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week. We will do the same. And we'll see you back here for episode 9. Until then, he's Mike and I'm Zach. Goodbye.